Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this presentation, HVAC Installation, Solutions for Evolving Codes and Design Trends. This event, brought to you by the ACHR News, is sponsored by Johns Manville. I'm your moderator, Kyle Gargaro, Editorial Director of the News. Thanks for joining us today. Today's presenter is Brennan Hall, who is the Senior Product Manager for HVAC Installation for the Performance Material business of Johns Manville. He started with the company in 2015 as the Product Manager for HVAC Installations. He came to the company from Baker Distributing, where he managed their National Accounts program. Prior to Baker, he spent 3+ years as a Southeast Area Sales Manager for Owens Corning. He also spent several years as a project manager in a brick, stone, stucco, and commercial floor covering industries. Stay tuned. At the end of the presentation, we'll be asking some questions of Brennan. But right now, I'm excited to turn it over to you. Go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. So thank you guys for coming by today. I appreciate you taking the time to come and check this out. First thing, I have to clear the legal stuff here. So information provided in this webinar is not to be used as a substitute for professional engineering, design, and or documentation required by building code, contract, or applicable law. Please make sure that you refer to all specification, application guides, guarantee requirements on all projects. So now we got that taken out of the way there. So what I'm going to talk today about, we're going to talk about the solutions for evolving codes, the need for increased energy efficiency. We're going to talk a little bit about the complete R12 portfolio that we've developed here at Johns Manville for a lot of our insulation solutions to help some of the adapting code changes that are out there. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the aesthetic trends that we're seeing and insulation solutions that we have for that for you guys to use on your projects and specify for the work out there. Talk about kind of the traditional requirements and then the outward appearance that's being necessary or being asked for right now in the industry as we're seeing some of these trends happen. So that's what we're going to cover today at a high level. So the first thing we're going to hit on is some of the evolving codes and things that we're seeing with that. So the need for increased energy efficiency is becoming very important. They're becoming a little bit more conservative. We're seeing a move towards net zero buildings, wanting to conserve energy. They want buildings to produce more energy than they consume. So we're starting to see some of that. A lot of the codes are changing. One of the things that we picked up on here recently is the 2015 IECC that's being adopted out in the marketplace. And the 2015 IECC is calling out R12 Duct Applications. It does take a long time for the codes to evolve. They do take a little time to get adopted and then enforced out in the market space. But we are starting to see some of those, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about what we're seeing with that trend right now. So what we're seeing relative to R12 duct applications, it's really a commercial application that we're starting to see this trend happen in. And basically what's been implemented in, or the way the code's being interpreted right now on the 2015 side, is anywhere between climate zones 5, 6, 7, and 8 being Alaska. So kind of this green belt that you're seeing on the screen all the way across the country. If you're having a commercial project where you have an application of ductwork that's running across a rooftop, in a parking garage, or even in a building that's in a unconditioned space that's got an insulated attic, right? So think of like a bank, kind of a single level kind of commercial type building where you might have insulation for ducts kind of running through that unconditioned space. That's where we've been kind of seeing some of this R12 stuff come out and be adopted, and people are asking for it, and our customers are asking for it. And we kind of look to try to find a way to adjust and adapt to that need. So who kind of uses the 2015 IECC? Where do we kind of see these requests coming from? A smattering of areas across the country. Some states adopt the code very, very quickly. Some codes are adopted very slow. But we are starting to see this kind of R12 need or trend and request kind of happening in different areas across the country. We've got a couple different products that we've developed to address these. Some of the codes write exceptions and things like that to hold on to previous jurisdictions or needs, but this is kind of what we're seeing and where we're seeing that, and there's a lot of places where you can reference this and find that information that are out there and available to review. So what's challenging about an R12 insulation? So here at Johns Manville, we do a lot of fiberglass products, and historically, relative to duct insulation, there's not been a specific R12 application for fiberglass as it ties to a duct liner, duct wrap, or duct board type product. Basically, if a contractor was requested to do an R12 type solution, they had to double layer insulation, basically meaning they had to take a layer of unfaced type fiberglass without the vapor barrier, wrap that duct or use that spin glass board, and then come back and reapply that with an FSK face type product, combining an R4 with an R8 product or two R6s, however they need to do to get to the R12 that was required when it was installed. That's a lot of time on the labor side. That's double wrapping, double insulation. Costs a lot more because you're asking for a lot more insulation to wrap that job. And then there were some things, especially on the liner side, that we had to develop with some of the guys here at the show, just around equipment limitations as it came to pinning ductwork and pinning liner. So, a lot of guys will come and say, hey, what about non-fiberglass options that are out there? And there are some non-fiberglass options that are available out there. It can be costly on some of the product materials to reach that R12. It can be labor intensive. It can have some different things around the code that you need to be aware of and make sure you're taking into consideration when you're specifying it. And fiberglass is a great product to use in this application, and we've got some solutions that we've kind of reached to that. So the first product that we developed, or that I came out with, I think we launched this product in June of 2018. One of our customers had a request at the Denver International Airport. Johns Manville is a company that's based out of Denver. We go in and out of this airport a lot, being on the JM team. They're living in Denver. The DIA expanded their parking garage. So they had a large parking garage expansion that you can kind of see here in the forefront. And one of our customers came to me and said, hey, we really need a R12 Duct Liner application. We don't want a double layer 2 R6s or 3 R4s or a 2-inch and a 1-inch material to reach this. We want one step, one process that we can put in place and let the whole thing happen just as we would do with a regular type liner job. So we went to the drawing board. We went down to our facility. We worked with some of our technical engineering in a lot of the departments, and we came up with a product and a solution that we could utilize to reach a 3-inch Line Acoustic RC product. Line Acoustic RC is our duct liner product. It's the Cadillac product of the market. We sell a large amount of Line Acoustic RC out there with our antimicrobial coating. When I originally launched this product, I launched one size. I launched 3 by 59, which is a very common width that we see in duct construction today as you line your duct work. Fast forward now 18 months later, and I think we're now stocking 8 or 9 SKUs of that 3-inch material. So it's become very popular. It's trended and really has gotten a lot of success and traction. We've seen it move in Utah and Colorado, up into Wisconsin. We've seen some in Idaho. So different areas of the country are taking some of that and using it, especially in rooftop type applications or exterior type applications. So as soon as we launched this product, within, I would say 4 weeks, my sales guys are calling me and saying, hey, I need a duct wrap. You got to have a duct wrap product. We've got guys that are doing liner. Now we've got mechanical guys that are doing a lot of insulation that need a 4.4-inch thick duct wrap or a R12 duct wrap application. So we went out to our plant in Willows, California, worked with the product engineering team, worked with the plant in California, and we developed a Type 75 3/4 pound density 4.4-inch thick R12 duct wrap. It's a 45-foot roll. It's a little bit shorter, but we got great recovery with our acrylic white binder. It's formaldehyde free. And the first project that we had for this application in this project was actually in Rochester, New York. It was a indoor-outdoor dog kennel, or a place where, like, a day spa for your dog. And if you think about a dog kennel and how those things are set up, you have an inside area where the dog kind of can go inside. There's a giant hole where they come outside, and then they're kind of under a covered area with a caged area around it. And that duct system ran all the way outside. So they actually ended up using it in that application because it was an indoor-outdoor type application, and that's where we first sold the first rolls of that product. So it's been on the market. We launched it in November of 2018, and it's done very well, a lot more successful than I would have ever thought it would be. So what that's done, those two products really kicked off and jump-started what I like to refer to as our complete portfolio of R12 products here at Johns Manville. So obviously, the top layer here, what we'll talk about, we have our external duct insulation, so duct wrap type applications or board applications. We obviously have our 4.4-inch thick duct wrap. We have our 3-inch thick spin glass board. We can make several thicknesses of different spin glass board applications. You can see a spin glass example up here on top of the duct over there, board product that we can make very thick to reach those R values. And then one of the really cool products that we launched as well a couple years ago is our Expect ISO polyfoam product, or a polyiso product. The polyiso products get a very, very good R value per inch. What's interesting about our Expect foam product is you really have to be careful where you apply the product. Our insulation requirements are very strict on our flame and smoke spread rating, the ASTM E84 test. We are required to meet a 2550 flame and smoke spread rating for duct work in all duct applications. The polyiso product has no issues making the 25 on the flame side, but it has issues with the smoke and the flame, or the smoke spread index. So it's got to be on the outside of the building. It's got to be used out there. However, Just recently here in December of 2019, we acquired, Johns Manville acquired the assets of ITW's insulation division, and they have a 2550 rated bun stock type product that we are really excited about taking a look at. It currently isn't faced, but I think over the next year or so we'll look at different applications and way we can bring that into the portfolio and utilize that as maybe a 2550 application inside the building envelope. So, but for right now, that's on hold. We'll get to that and eventually, but we do have a solution that is a polyiso, which is great for compressive strength, especially in the Northeast where you have snow load or wind, things like that. Moving down here to the bottom of this is our Duct Liner insulation product line. Duct Liner meaning it goes on the inside of a sheet metal duct or a piece of sheet metal. We have our 3-inch liner, our flexible rolled 3-inch material that reaches R12. On the double wall side, double wall meaning an inner metal core wrapped in a fiberglass blanket, shoved into an outer metal jacket or metal core. We have as much as 4 inches thick product that we can use that reaches the R4 for that application. And then we also have our Line Acoustic R300 plenum board. It's a rigid board for a mechanical room, large plenum type spaces that we can go to 3 inches or 4 inches thick. So the code really helped us evolve and change what we were doing and changed my way of thinking of what we needed to do from a fiberglass standpoint. Now we have a complete R12 offering that our sales guys can go out and push in the marketplace. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here. We talked about obviously the code changes, but one of the other things that we're really starting to see out there trend right now is some of the aesthetics that are seeing out there. If you look around here today, even if you look up towards the ceiling here, you can see that it's very black and dark, and we're seeing a lot of requests for colored types of insulation. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how we got there and what we developed for those solutions. So when you look at basic fiberglass insulation, basic requirements for insulation, there's 5 things or key components that people really are looking for when you're either specifying it or using it to meet the code that you need. Obviously your thermal control, getting your proper R value to meet the code and to meet the application. Acoustical control, eliminating crosstalk or between office noises, things like that, fan noise, things that you might hear that come through that disrupt the classroom or disrupt what you're doing in your office space. Condensation control. We've done a couple different presentations here at the show this week with acoustics and condensation, thermal design, things like that. Fire safety, very important. Building occupant safety is really important for all of our customers and people that are out there occupying these spaces. And then energy efficiency, making sure that these buildings are not creating energy. They are creating energy. They're not using energy and helping that. So those are kind of the 5 traditional things that you'll typically see in requests with insulation. So some of the challenging things that's kind of coming now is we're starting to see a lot of exposed ductwork. We're starting to see the regentrification of people back into downtown areas, back into urban areas, using older buildings, older warehouse spaces, things like that. We're seeing a lot of exposed ductwork. We're seeing a lot of exposed piping, and we're seeing a lot of rectangular and spiral ductwork where people are saying, hey, I need a really aesthetic look. I want something that's trendy, something that looks nice. So we're starting to see some of this shift, and it's been happening for a while now. We've been asked to find a lot of different solutions to kind of meet the needs to hit this application. Well, the first thing, if you're looking at a rectangular duct, one of the ways that you can really aesthetically design a space, like if you look up here today, a lot of the stuff is spiral up there. There's also some rectangular stuff that you can see with the metal. You can align that duct and get your condensation control. You can cover your acoustics. You can do a lot of things that you can with our duct liner in itself in a rectangular application. A lot of paint grip, a lot of sheet metal gets painted. So this goes on the inside, it controls all of your acoustics, and the metal can be painted to match your ceiling or your walls or whatever you want to do. So this still gives you the insulation that you need and still allows you to have that aesthetic design that you might want to have. If you're looking at something that's more of a spiral application, we've been doing a lot of Spire acoustic demonstrations over here. I encourage you to go check that out if you haven't seen that. But if you're doing a lot of spiral, and we're seeing spiral trend, we're seeing a lot more people asking for spiral from an energy efficiency standpoint, from a code standpoint. It's definitely something that is a growing segment in the marketplace. But our Spire Acoustic Plus product does a great job. It comes in a 4x10 flat sheet, and we pre-kerf it and groove it at our factory. We use our antimicrobial coating on the airstream surface that helps repel water and keeps any mold or mildew that wants to grow on that and keeps it away from the fiberglass. It's a lot lighter weight than double wall. It's about 33% lighter, I think, than a double wall typical application. And when you put it inside of that metal, all that exposed spiral piping, a lot of paint grip metal that can be used, you can paint that and match all your ceilings and walls, things like that. All that exposed piping that you're starting to see as well, as we're starting to see things come inside the building space. Our Microlock HP pipe insulation has a white facing. We have both the Ultra, which is our poly top jacket, wipeable, cleanable, great for a restaurant setting, intermittent moisture. And then we have our tried and true HP Microlock insulation with our white paper ASJ jacketing. So that white color is something that people are seeing, and they're using that as an aesthetic application, or seeing that and leaving it exposed because that white does look nice, it looks clean, and we're starting to see people leave those pipes exposed as they insulate them. So we talked about kind of the 5 trends of insulation, the things that you need, the design characteristics that we're seeing, and now we're starting to see people ask us for outward appearance and aesthetics. That's kind of the 6th thing that's being asked for when it comes to insulation, and what we need to look at and consider here at Johns Manville, and where we're developing our product roadmaps to meet and fit those applications. So we routinely get questions to our technical line and Mr. John Elverum around, hey, can we paint our insulation? Can we just paint the facing? Can you issue me a letter? Well, when it comes to our products, we have to meet a very stringent ASTM E84 2550 flame and smoke spread test rating for our products to be used and applied to the ductwork. If you paint the fiberglass, Johns Manville doesn't test painted duct insulation. We don't go out, we don't run the tunnel test, we don't burn the product, we don't know what type of paint you're using. Therefore, once you paint that duct wrap, or paint that duct board, or paint that facing, it voids the UL warranty and it's no longer valid. You've got to make sure you check with your local fire people, make sure whoever's specifying that project knows and is aware of what's going on with it. We do have a letter that we can issue and that speaks to this, but it will void your 2550 product warranty. So you got to be really careful where and when you're going to paint it, and make sure people are aware and involved in what's going on there. So really, if you can avoid it, don't paint the facing. So hey, if you can't paint the facing, then what do I do? Engineers asking for white, engineers asking for black. I need something to match a wall or a ceiling in this mechanical room or in this space. So we've developed a couple different products to help you meet that application. I'll start actually on the right side and move back to the left because you can see the pictures here. Our white PSK duct wrap we developed in 2015 for a very large football stadium project. It was used, all the walls were white, all the ceilings were white, everything inside of the space was white. So we launched our Microlite white PSK duct wrap product for that application. And immediately the first question I was asked was, what tape should I use? How do I close this duct wrap seam? How does the closure work? What do I need to be utilizing for it? And I didn't have a solution. I was unprepared for that product launch. And we found some applications, we found some tape, but we got a lot of complaints because the sheen didn't match, or the white to white. The scrim pattern didn't match. So we had a lot of heartache that kind of learned, and I learned my lesson from that. Well, fast forward here to 2019, and on the left-hand side, we launched our black Microlite PSK duct wrap. PSK stands for Poly Scrim Craft. That's the outer jacketing. You can see both our white and black products up here on display above on the booth. So when we launched the black product, and you can see the first application we did there was actually in a middle school up in the Boston area, and it came out really nice with all that wood in the ceiling, and it really popped and made the eye pop, and they didn't have to go back in and paint it. They didn't have to use dry fall paint. They didn't have to block everything off and cover everything up, and it didn't interrupt the job schedule and didn't interrupt the site at all, really. They came in, they did their typical installation just as if it was FSK, put it on there with the black, they taped all their seams, and it really came out with a really beautiful application. Well, this time I was very much prepared for what was going to be asked, and we actually launched a line of tapes that match our facing. We have both a black tape now and a white tape now that we can utilize, so if you're specifying a project and your distributor or contractor needs it, it's something that will match exactly the sheen, the color, everything about it, and it makes it look really good and a nice finished system. So we were really excited about how that's gone and the progress that we've seen with that. So I'm very excited that we have these two products on the market. I do have another white face type product. It's called our Microlite Vinyl. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have a scrim pattern in it. The perm rating, or the kind of the water vapor transparency as it moves through the facing, is not as good as what a PSK type facing would be. It does have a little bit lesser sheen to it though, so it's got a little bit of a different look to it if we need something else that isn't so shiny in an application where somebody's asking for it. One of the other products that we launched on our mechanical side for exposed applications was our 800 series Ultra Poly Top board. What's great about this board, which is, I believe it's up here as well, up on the duct section, this is a paper-free jacket. There's no paper inside of this facing, which is great. It's great. It doesn't wrinkle. It doesn't have any paper that can absorb moisture. They've done a really nice job with this product on the mechanical side. It looks really good when it goes in. Mechanical spaces, white spaces where you might need a board in lieu of a duct wrap type insulation. Our exposed piping applications for a Zeston PVC jacketing, you can see all of our colors here just right above here. PVC is a great application if you're looking for an aesthetic solution. It's abuse resistant, you can clean it down, it serves as a vapor barrier when you seal it properly. It's got a slew of colors that you can utilize to make sure that you're matching it. I know last year we had someone come by who was doing a daycare and they saw the PVC applications and he had some exposed ductwork and piping and he was like, I want to do that, that's what I want to have. And he was able to kind of do like a rainbow type color in that daycare center. So it really turned out to be a great application there, and the color coding for aesthetics really makes it pop. We've got a great product line in our Zeston line that we produce up in New Jersey, and it's a great application if you're looking for something that's aesthetically pleasing. Our exposed piping and metal jacketing product, this is something that came over with our acquisition of the ITW Insulation Systems. It's traditionally been known as the Papco Childers brand. We'll be rebranding kind of some of that and rolling it into the Johns Manville portfolio. But it protects the pipes against abuse. It's really a cut and roll type product. You can wash it down, indoor, outdoor applications, metallized different types of gauges. It kind of gives you that clean silver type look to it as you use it in these types of places where somebody's looking for that different type of look or covering and insulation that you might have for higher or low temperatures, things like that. So it's really a nice kind of thing to round out our portfolio of aesthetic applications and what we're doing kind of in this space. So it's really been an exciting time the last couple of years, addressing both the codes and bringing out new products to address those for solutions for everybody, as well as some of the things around the color and the aesthetics and the design of the systems that are coming out today. I mean, just looking around, you can see today just up in the ceiling, it's all black. If they needed something where they could paint it, you could line it. If they wanted to wrap it, we have a solution for that. So it's really been fun for us to be on the kind of the cutting edge and ahead of the curve on some of this stuff as it's kind of coming down the pipeline and hitting us. And our sales team's done a really great job of getting out there, pushing the products, making it available, letting people know that it's out there, that they have a solution, letting the engineers know that they have something available that they can put in place and use in these applications for aesthetic things that they need. So with that, come back up, Kyle. Oh, I'm sorry. Our additional resources. I forgot the slide was there. I apologize. So if you have any questions, we do have a John Elbram can be reached there. He does all of our technical research and provides a ton of information. All of our technical letters, everything that comes through. If you need something or have a question, John is your man. He can take care of it. I use him as a resource as well. We also have some really nice things on the internet that we have developed. We have our source, which is a kind of a one-stop shop for everything Johns Manville insulation, whether you're looking for mechanical, whether you're looking for HVAC, there's specifications, there's our products, we have our blog that's out there. All these webinars that we do and educational pieces are all there and available to check out and watch. We have a ton of training and installation videos. All the stuff that you're seeing over here today at the booth, all the Spire Acoustics stuff, all of our Duct Board demos, those are all online and available here that you can go check out and watch at your leisure. And then the new thing that we've launched here is kind of our insulation intel, which obviously goes with our educational theater. And this is a little web page here that kind of goes into some of the topics that we talked about today with our aesthetics and our applications that you can find in a place where you can go there. And I know we're working on some other things, so we're really excited about the platform here and the opportunity to add some of this into our marketing forum and the things that we do to help us put products out in the market. So.
All right, thank you, Brennan. That was a great presentation. Before we address the questions from the audience that were submitted in this presentation, we do have a couple of poll questions we'd like for you to participate on. Do you mind handling that for us, Brennan?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Not a problem. So I do have a couple quick poll questions that I'd like to present to you guys before we move into the moderated questions that have been submitted through this. So the first question that I'd like to ask of you guys is, if you could take the poll, is, are there any other type of colors that you would want in a duct wrap application besides black, white, or silver? I know that their colors are a little bit high level, generic here. You know, am I looking for turquoise or royal blue or things like that? But I would be curious just to kind of see what you guys have or what you might be interested. Just something that can kind of be put into my product roadmap and help me deliver look for other solutions or look for other things that might be needed or might be requested out there in the market. So if you could take the time to just click on a answer there, and I'll share with you guys the results here in about 15-20 seconds, and we'll take a look and see what you guys have asked for. Okay, I'm going to move us to the poll results for that question. Here you can see clearly the overwhelming favorite from the surveys that came back in is a gray type application followed by a blue. So actually a lot of interest in the gray. So that's something definitely I can take as an action item to see if there's any applications relative to a gray type facing that I can find and maybe put that into our product offering in the future. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to fill that out, and you can see the results right there on your computer. The next question that I have here that I'd like you to take the time to answer is, would a paper-free insulation facing influence your decision to specify that product? So a lot of our products that we have clearly have the facings that are put together as a poly, scrim, and a craft. So, or a foil and a scrim and a craft, meaning there's a layer of foil or poly, there's a woven yarn, and then there is a paper that kind of creates that laminate system for the facing, right? One of the new products that we have out on our mechanical side is our Ultra spin glass board. That product actually does not have a craft paper in there. It is a paper-free product that came out last year, and we've been toying around with the idea of looking at other potential products in our processes to see if we could take the craft paper out, and if that would influence you for any reason to be more or less likely to specify that product. And I will share the the results here very shortly. Give it about 10 more seconds. Looks like most of the responses are in. Just to give you an idea, this is the results that you guys submitted back in. So, you know, maybe. I think that's a fair response there. Some interesting yeses there. So that's definitely something that we'll take back, and I'll share with my other product managers that do some of our other product lines as well. You know, I only run the air handling products. I know some about our mechanical products that I presented today, but there's a team of product managers here at JM that this feedback is very valuable to, so that we can develop our future product roadmaps and get you guys solutions that you're looking for. So, Kyle, with that, I will pass it back over to you for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brennan. We've reached the Q&A festivities here. You can certainly still get your Q&A in the chat tab if a question does pop into your head, but we have more than a few here. First one up is from Ron. What product would you apply for crawl space?
So, good question. So, crawl spaces are typically seen, obviously, in residential applications. A lot of it depends on what area in the country you are or where you're from. And what's being requested of the application. I've seen flex duct run through crawl spaces. We've seen sheet metal duct wrap. We've seen sheet metal duct lined. You could even use duct board really as you run through the crawl space. It's inside. It's not getting wet, not getting exposed to any direct moisture or outside moisture. Definitely something with a foil vapor barrier of some sort. But that's really, you can use kind of what you would like to use in that application because you're still undercover. It's not wet. It's not necessarily exposed to the elements per se. So you can use kind of really what you would like as you're designing that system.
All right, next question up here from Phil. What other cold piping insulation products are available besides fiberglass?
Cold piping. So that's a good question. So I know we have a different segment of our business that's tied to industrial products in our industrial insulation group. We have at JM, we have three segments of our business, I guess, if you could say, relative to performance materials insulation. So you've got the air handling products, which is what I handle. We have our mechanical products, which tend to be our pipe insulations and our mechanical boards. And then we have our industrial side, which is, I think, kind of where this would fall into. We have all kinds of different solutions, really a broad selection of items that you can see at jm.com and visit there. We have perlite, calcium silicate, we have mineral wool, we have what is the we have the thin blanket, insul-thin blanket. There's a lot of different things in our industrial portfolio that really might help you in that application. But that's where I would kind of go and look at that space from our company as to what you're looking for, because a lot of those are very specific to the type of application that you're trying to reach with the specifications needed.
All right, sounds good. Next one from Ed. He's talking about a healthcare facility that are installed internally, sometimes get detached. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. In a healthcare facility that I've been involved with, the supply duct lining after 25 years of use is coming apart. What is the predicted lifespan of your new duct lining?
Sure, that's a good question. It's a common question that we get asked. You know, as long as the system is maintained properly, the duct liner should be good for the span of the life of the building. One of the things that's interesting though, right? Like, you know, in 2001, you had a different type of cell phone, right? Maybe it was a flip phone, a Nokia phone. You know, as technology improves, things get better. Things become more improved. I think our current duct liner products and a lot of our applications, the industry overall in the early 2000s went to the black matte type facer application right around the turn of the century, I guess, is now 20 years ago. Hard to believe, but before that, there was a lot of product that did not have a airstream surface barrier, right? So there's definitely some things, even Johns Manville, we had our duct liner product up until I think 2005, 2004 did not have an airstream surface, and some of that stuff in really, really old applications, that's why you might be seeing some of that degradation, because those did not have it applied to the facer. So the new stuff that we have, our line Acoustic RC in particular, we have a permacoat acrylic coating that goes on top of a airstream surface, and that all helps trap and conceal. We seal the edges so the fiberglass doesn't get out. It holds everything in. It does a great job with water repellency. It's got antimicrobial properties, so it's a really nice product now, and we've had that facing on there for a while, and that's probably leading to some of those issues if I had to guess.
All righty, next one up here from Sam. Has JM developed any new products to match the performance of foam glass on chilled water applications?
So another good question. One of the things that recently happened, actually something that's very exciting here at Johns Manville, as of early December 2019, we made an acquisition. Johns Manville purchased the insulation assets of ITW, which brought on board with us some different types of products that we can use in some of those chilled water type applications. It's called Trimer. Some of you may be familiar with this. It's a pretty commonly recognized brand that's out there. So that's rolled up into the Johns Manville portfolio of products, and I think it's available now on our website. You can go check that out. But that would be definitely something that would be an option there for that application that we're really excited to have within our portfolio of products.
All right, the next one here is from Carlos. He says he needs insulation on a very hot environment, 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Sounds like he wants a solution from you.
It's a good question. So all of the ducting insulation products that I have or that I'm responsible for go up to 250 degrees. So once you get above that kind of 250 degree temperature range on ductwork, you start burning the binder or the glue that kind of holds all your fiberglass. It starts burning apart on the duct insulation products. You know, I think we have some products on the mechanical side that do reach higher temperatures, and I know our industrial products reach higher temperatures. There's probably a solution that we have that we can offer in something else. I just know that my product line in particular with air handling, we don't go up past 250 degrees.
Okay. What sizes are available in the colored piping covered?
So the colored piping, which you're referring to, I'm assuming is our Zeston PVC product line. That's what I'm assuming the question is tied to, which I think there's 14 different colors. We really, you can kind of get to whatever you're sort of looking for with it. We have what's called a cut and curl. It's a very large roll of PVC product that you basically pull out what you need and you cut it off and you curl it around the pipe, no matter what the diameter is. And I'm assuming that's where it's kind of going with, but it's a great application that you can use the PVC for.
All right, Brian's asking, will you have an R12 Duct Board? He said not referring to Duct Board liner though.
Sure, I understand that one. So to be honest with you, right now I don't have a plan in place for an R12 Duct Board. One of the things that's interesting about Duct Board is Duct Board typically comes with a factory applied shiplap, a male-female shiplap. So as you're forming that duct board into the duct itself, and when you're bringing the second section of duct together at that transverse joint where they're coming together, that shiplap is there to just get a nice fit and bring those two sections of duct together. Not impossible. It's something that we could do. I have not really seen or been asked relative to the demand on R12 needs. Right now we have 1 inch R4, 1.5 R6, 2 inches R8, and even R8 is still a very small percentage of the duct board that's being requested from us, kind of on the whole, if you're looking at our values across our offering. So right now I'm holding off on the duct board. The other piece of it that is a little bit constraining is you have to have some sort of tooling to cut duct board. And right now I don't believe a lot of the machines out there only are accommodated up to 2 inches. So there'd be some machining needs and hand tool needs, things like that. It would be pretty difficult, I think, to get to an R12 duct board with fiberglass, but not impossible.
All right, Nate wants to know, are there limits to compression, deformation to your exterior duct installation?
Good question. So I would say, I'm assuming you're in that question, I can address it two ways. If you're looking for a fiberglass board, you're going to have to put really some sort of cladding over it. Really, if you're using the polyiso board, you'd have to use some sort of cladding as well. The fiberglass board comes in multiple different densities. I think we go as high as 6-pound density, which is a pretty stout fiberglass board. You'd have to still put obviously your cladding around it, and that fiberglass is going to have some compression tied to it. The polyiso is a very, very strong product from a compression standpoint. The X-Spec foam we developed to put on outside rooftop type applications because it really does not meet the flame or the smoke spread fire test rating. But it's really something that kind of originated in its development from the Northeast relative to snow load, and having a lot of that heavy, icy, melted snow sit on top of that ductwork. I believe there is a PSI rating for polyiso. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I apologize. But the Johns Manville technical line, John Elverum, I'm sure would be able to help with that information.
All right, next question here. I have seen insulation panels that are installed internally sometimes get detached and travel in the duct and block the coil. How to avoid that and ensure insulation panels are tightly installed?
Sure. So if something is coming off, I believe the standard for anything that's internally lined for insulation is required to be glued as well as mechanically fastened in some way to the inside of the duct system, whether that be a weld pin or some sort of stick pin. But both are required by SMACNA standards. SMACNA, the Sheet Metal and Air Conditioning National Contractors Association, they have all of the standards for duct liner application. The guys in the technical department there are fantastic. If you have questions relative to any sort of installation of duct liner or metal duct, but I believe all of their standards require pinning and the mechanical fastening, so that should help prevent it. If something's coming out, there's probably a workmanship problem there more than likely, or something wasn't properly installed. It should not come out though.
All right. What is the R value of a Spire duct liner for spiral duct?
Good question. So Spire Acoustic Plus is available in 3 thicknesses. So it's a 1-inch thick R4. I think it's actually R4.2. We have 1.5 inch, which is an R6, and a 2-inch product, which is an R8 right now. So we have 3 different thicknesses in our offering for the Spire Acoustic Plus product, that you can get different thicknesses and different R values out of it, similar to any of our board products.
Edward says, tape has not been a preferred method to seal duct due to the tape loosening in adhesive over time. Are there any mastic available?
A couple good questions there. So if you go and look at all of our installation instructions, one of the most common things that I see, and it's really become prevalent here as we've launched the black product actually, is if you're seeing tape pull off the seams, tape in itself is not typically enough to hold the seams and hold that application. You really need to have that seam stapled, closed, and then taped over it and squeegeed down to hold it down tightly. A lot of the failures that I see with duct wrap when things come in or somebody has a problem, typically 9 times out of 10 they either use the wrong staple, which means a straight staple. You should really use an outward clenching staple to bring the thing together at the seam, or what happens is if you just put the tape on there and you start getting that temperature range. One of the other things that I've seen recently is the product for fiberglass duct wrap insulation is supposed to recover, meaning the fiberglass is going to continually expand and it wants to continue pushing out. So if you're just taping it and not using those outward clenching staples at those seams, the tape alone is going to be difficult to hold that seam. There's some other ways guys do it. We've seen them wrap like wire around. I've seen that, and that helps hold it. As far as mastics go, I know there's white mastic out there. I don't know if there's black mastic, to be honest with you. There's tons of companies that produce mastics out there that are probably available. But when I see duct wrap installations or failures relative to the tape, most of the time, in our experience, is that the contractor did not staple those seams and hold that all together, and that fiberglass has recovered and forced those tape seams to pull apart.
Next one here. Does the black duct wrap have any special installation requirements?
A couple of different things. One of the things I just hit on was the staples and the tape. That was something that just recently happened that we got some feedback on from the contractor. What's interesting about the black PSK is it is a black coating. It's not necessarily a black poly. It's like any other finished product, right? If you think about being in your kitchen, you're redoing your kitchen, you have finished granite countertops or a nice tile application. The duct wrap itself is going to be a finished application. It's a finished look. A lot of times duct installation gets stuck up behind the ceiling, or it's hidden. You don't typically see it. The way it aesthetically looks doesn't necessarily matter. One of the things that we've noticed is you've got to take your time with the product. If you drag it across the floor, you will scuff it all up, and it will definitely take that exterior coating off of that. One of the other things that we've also noticed that you really need to make sure that you're squeegeeing down that tape after you staple that seam. That squeegeeing part is not just your hand, like a credit card, and actually swiping back and forth to kind of make sure that adhesion is fully adhered. Heat that up just a little bit and make that stuff stick. That we found that to be very important as well. So I think those are two of the things that I've noticed the most, and obviously we have the tape that matches, and that definitely helps make it a better finished application and appearance.
Do you expect that codes will eventually require greater than R12 installation on ducts?
I get asked that question a lot. Right now, codes take a long time to be implemented and then adopted in a lot of cases, and then enforced. There's all kinds of different levels. Sometimes it's a county code, sometimes it's the state, sometimes it's the city. I have seen one request so far. I think it's in the state of Washington on I believe it's a commercial code where it's requiring any fresh air intake where it's running from, I think, the louver to the damper. So you're pulling ducting or fresh air from outside, or a duct goes from the outside of the building into the inside of the building until that first louver. And don't quote me on this. It's just something that's come up recently where they're requiring that duct to match the exterior building envelope thermals. So I believe it's an R19 is the code there, and they're asking that duct receive an R19. That's the only one right now that I am aware of that's been brought up, and I'm still trying to get some clarification around that. But that's the only one that I've actually seen so far.
All right, these are all great questions, and we have one more. Christopher's going to be the last one here. How is installation maintained continuous when applying internal spiral duct liner at the joint?
Sure, that's a great question. We get asked a lot about that relative to duct liner. The standards for bringing together sections or seams of duct insulation on duct liner, a lot of the things that say is it needs to be neatly butted. It needs to come as close as possible. Touching at the very least. I was always taught that insulation should touch at the joints, at the transverse joints where you're bringing them together, if at all possible. The one thing that you got to remember when you're talking about duct liner is duct liner's main purpose. The number one reason why you use duct liner is for acoustical control. It can provide thermal control, it can provide some condensation control, but the number one reason why you internally line a duct section is because you're trying to eliminate crosstalk or fan noise or any of those type of things. A lot of duct liner is used inside the building envelope. Actually a large percentage of it is inside the building envelope. So if you're looking for something where you're really concerned where those joints are coming together and you're concerned relative to a continuous barrier or condensation control, that's something where you might want to look at wrapping that application instead of lining it. But you're going to get it really close. We've never in our history gone through and looked at complaints that come in or people asking this question, have you seen condensation? Not saying that it's never happened, but it's never been brought to our attention on the technical side that there's been a condensation issue at those transverse joints, as long as those things are getting really, really close and neatly butting one another is what the verbiage is actually saying in the SMACNA manual, I think, right now, as well as all the name information. So as close as possible, get them to touch, get it as close as you can and try and keep it consistent would be my best advice.
All right, sounds great. We have answered all the questions. Anything you wanted to add, Brennan, before we wrap this webinar up?
Yeah, I think that, thank you all for attending today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Kyle, for doing a great job moderating. The last thing that I have is just remember all of our additional resources. We have a additional resource line that you can reach all of our technical people at. We have multiple places where you can go to our website, jm.com, and reach the source, which has all kinds of tools, and a lot of the questions that you guys have asked today, you can find what you need there, whether it be air handling or mechanical or industrial. Lots of information, training videos there. And then our installation intel piece for the aesthetics, and there's sell sheets there. I believe there's sell sheets that are attached to your chat box under the handouts tab there that you can print and download. So lots of places, lots of resources. We try to be a solutions provider and do our best to meet the needs of what you all need.
All right, great. Absolutely fantastic. I want to thank Brennan Hall for his great presentation, as well as our sponsor, of course, Johns Manville. If you have any additional questions or comments, please don't hesitate to click the Email Us button on the console. As you exit today's webinar, please take a couple minutes to complete our survey. We strongly welcome your detailed comments. You can visit achrnews.com/webinars for the archive of this presentation, as well as information about our upcoming events. We appreciate your time and hope you found this webinar to be a valuable experience. Enjoy the rest of your day.